It's been fun and it's been challenging. It's been a great time.
It builds character, I think. It builds toughness. It gives you that warrior attitude.
As we come down from this long escalation of contingency operations, we need to find a way to train our reservists. And there's no more of an ideal place than what we have here. This started out as Global Medic with a small group of aeromedical folks, and we built to a point where we have a joint and coalition kind of a construct.
We're at a joint training facility here in Wisconsin, and we've got Navy folks, we've got Army, both Reserve and Guard. We've got active duty folks here, so besides the Air Force Reserve, we have several other components of our 3-component Air Force and our joint partners that we go to war with. So it even adds to the realism because we are doing things the way we would do in a forward operating location. So train the way you fight is not just a bumper sticker, we're actually doing that.
We've been fighting for the last 12 years. It's a joint environment. All of us together are much stronger than any one of us is by ourselves. So we're able to actually work through a lot of the problems that when you're at home station, you couldn't do here because the other forces wouldn't be there.
Patriot Warrior is a joint war exercise, exercising the Army's ability to sustain combat operations. The Air Force gets involved with our aeromedical evacuation and our base buildup and bare bones to sustainable base operations.
This particular exercise, we experienced significant challenges with weather, very wet conditions as we began to build up our base.
Building the tents in the cold weather. I think our first night was here. We were out till 11 p.m. putting our final tent up with 30-mile-an-hour winds, and it was pouring down rain. That was the worst experience. But at least we got the tent up and we had a warm place to stay that night, so that was our motivation.
It's a fairly austere location, so weather has definitely been a factor for folks. But you know, we can't control the weather factor where we may end up having to answer our nation's call.
Well, the challenge is we're building a base from scratch. We haven't really done this since about 03, 04. We've been rolling in on existing infrastructure. So by building it from scratch, we had all the challenges. We had to, how are we going to make our own water? We brought in what's called a rope unit that purifies water for us. We had to set up our dining facilities. We had to build our tents. Nothing was here when we got here.
We're simulating battlefield conditions and resupply, and in some of the scenarios we'll have injuries as those forces engage with the enemy. As we get those engagements, we have soldiers evacuated via dust-off Army medevac back to the rear into the field hospitals. The field hospitals in turn set up patient transfer to our aeromedical staging area, and then ultimately we're able to evacuate them using C-130s and C-17s, simulating the staging conditions that we would find in any major theater.
Our job is PERSCO, which is personnel, but what we do is we account for every person. We account for all Army, all civilians, everybody who's on the FOB. In case somebody's hurt, injured, killed, we make sure all those notifications are completed.
My job is to function as a chaplain, and what that means is working for the commander to meet the spiritual needs of those folks attached to his command.
Reset! Arm!
We did practice 2 ramp ceremonies, and the purpose of that was to train us as chaplains to be more proficient.
Hear me, Lord. Listen to my cry for mercy.
At providing those ceremonies in real life, because that is the type of ceremony that you want to get right. It's very important to honor the fallen and to commemorate their service, and also to provide a meaningful experience for the comrades left behind.
All right, so make sure you guys are supervising your guys on the hand lines.
We're trying to conduct most of our training to include live fires, structural responses, egresses, the things of those nature. Typically, we've been doing a lot of this training at home station or waiting our 3-4 years before we go to Silver Flag. If we could come and do something like this on a yearly basis, we're just going to be even more ready.
The Director of Mobility Forces provides the JFAC, the Joint Forces Air Component Commander, visibility on all the mobility assets in theater and ensures that those run smoothly.
Treasury checks in our office. Diamond Saber, as a dispersing agent, I will oversee the dispersing office. In the dispersing office, you have a couple of different scenarios set up. So a customer might come in and have a pay inquiry. In that case, they're going to go to the mill pay section. And they're going to be able to process and make sure they are getting paid correctly, and if they're not, be able to input into the system and correct their pay for them.
In the deployed environment, we'll get a call. Obviously, we'll be on our fob, we'll get our call, and we'll go out. It could be anywhere from ID to a cash to a V-bid. Pretty much whatever they throw at us, we try and take care of it as best as possible. Try not to let it go off, but if it goes off, try to do it in a safe manner and collect evidence so we can figure out who's planting the improvised explosive devices.
So we go nice and slow, step by step, everybody learns.
Our mission, the security force, takes inside and outside the wire. We do joint missions with EOD, with other sister services, Army and Marine Corps, and things like that, although people don't really understand that we do that. We usually have specialized squadrons that do that, but in order for us to get the training on a regular basis to do that, we actually have to come out and train with other people to do it. This opportunity with EOD to come out there and show them what we're capable of, and them mutually show us what they're capable of and what they need, allows us to augment and design training around that specific mission.
Most of the people here are on annual tour, so the reservists using their annual tour, we've brought them all together. We've given them access to training they cannot do at their home stations.
We are able to deliver high quality training at a greatly reduced cost or efficiency. We save money using annual tour and the play area that the Army has generated for us. So we're not the only contributor to generating this training event. We have team members in the way of the Navy and the Army that are part of the contribution, and so we're not bearing the financial burden solely.
We actually break into the true readiness materials, so they actually work with the real kit that they will when they deploy. Definitely bang for the buck as we integrate and go forward. I think we'll see the exercise grow as we go in the future. Our fire department, they got their Silver Flag certifications here. They're doing JP8 burns, which they can't do at home. So there's all kinds of training. There's incredible opportunity. In the future, I see security forces playing. We probably need, in my opinion, need to bring in a mission support group with the ops group, because there's so much that goes with building and sustaining the base.
It's gratifying to see us go from just a bunch of gravel to producing combat capability and caring for soldiers on the battlefield, and see it's our people doing it. I'm very proud of them.
I'm most excited about Patriot Warrior because it's real life. I feel like this is a scenario of what's going to happen if we do get deployed.
Typically, when we train back at a reserve unit, we don't get a chance to do hands-on. Of course, we sit behind computers and do CBTs quite a bit nowadays. So when we get a chance to come out here and put our hands on this stuff, this actually makes it more realistic, and we prefer to do it that way.
The folks that I've seen here, they're just fired up and they're doing great work and they're learning.
It's very rewarding to see people grow, and it's been an awesome and incredible experience.
You know, we say since 2001, but the Air Force has really been at it since Northern Watch and Southern Watch and Desert Storm and many different contingencies around the world. So we've been at it for 20 plus years. Patriot Warriors taking all those lessons and putting them into an exercise construct so that we don't lose that experience, because we don't want to be put back on a shelf. We have always been operational in the Air Force Reserve. We've always been that Tier 1 ready force, maintaining the same standards as our active duty. And this is going to help us continue to do that in the future.